You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, Congress wavers on support for Ukraine as Russia lashes out against future NATO applicants.
We've got a stalled out front that's dominating half of the 4 states, while the other half is enjoying blue sky. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Storm Center.
Speaking of what's in the sky, the first images of a black hole arrive before the light is swallowed.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The U.S. might be sending mixed messages about its support for Ukraine. Senate vote on an aid package for Ukraine is now pushed to next week. Amy Kiley shows us how this comes as the U.S. supports Finland's possible bid for NATO membership, but not doing so for Ukraine's.
Amid an increasing civilian death toll in Ukraine come possibly mixed signals from the U.S. In the Senate, a plan to send aid to Ukraine has rare bipartisan support.
For heaven's sake, let's get Ukraine funding done ASAP.
And they need this help right now.
But the chamber is unlikely to vote on the bill until next week. Lawmakers are working to bypass Senator Rand Paul's request for an oversight amendment. Another mixed signal involves Finland. Its president says he and the prime minister want their country to join NATO.
Finland is a regional security provider and would further strengthen NATO as a future ally.
The United States would support a NATO application by Finland and or Sweden should they choose to apply.
But the Biden administration isn't voicing the same support for Ukraine's membership.
It shows the double standard of the alliance.
NATO allies have an obligation to defend each other. Sending alliance troops to Ukraine could start World War III. By contrast,
it's hard to see what they could do to Finland that couldn't be pretty easily defended.
Still, some see expanding NATO as a victory in itself.
Putin was absolutely counting on NATO breaking sort of faith with each other and not being a strong entity. And it's a perfect boomerang on him that we have new strong members in NATO at the end of this.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Well, here in the 4 states, we already have thunderstorms moving in to finish off the work week. We're going to join Michael, Skywatch Weather Center.
Yeah, Tanya, it is a tale of 3 different states right now, if you will. We've got blue sky over southwest Missouri. There we are at 7th and Rangeline, 74 degrees. That is not the case throughout southeast Kansas and a little sliver of northeast Oklahoma. Now, the majority of northeast Oklahoma looking all right, but look at this line that we've got through southeast Kansas dominating the, if you were to take just that portion of southeast Kansas, central and western parts. This thing rolls from the Red River all the way up to southern Iowa. And of course, that means it cuts right through SEK. Heaviest rain right now in between Yates Center, Fredonia, and Independence. There is not much movement in this. It's not progressing from west to east. It's a stalled out front, if you will. Now we revert back to the blue sky over Television City. No matter where it is, temperature's pretty mild. We're seeing a little bit of a dip up to the north. Iola, Fort Scott, and Nevada have dropped about 5-6 degrees as that low pressure system moved in from the northwest, but everybody else, even where we have had rain, has maintained, say high 60s into the low 70s. Work up into the mid 80s later on today. Watch this thing just kind of die out here mid-morning. It just, no movement. It just kind of gives up. Be nice if it gave up sooner than later, that's for sure, as we're already looking at 1.5 inches of rain in certain places, 2.5 inches up in Anderson County. Then as we work into tonight, we'll have the reemergence of some thunderstorms, this time crossing over the state line into that area of northeast Oklahoma and southwest Missouri that was previously unaffected for this morning. Our temperatures stay in the 80s even after the fronts roll through. We will have additional thunderstorm activity headed our way. Break that down here in just a little bit, talk about what we've got Sunday night into Monday morning.
All right. Sounds like we got a lot to talk about. Thanks, Michael. Well, shots are fired during a graduation ceremony in Arkansas. It happened in Hot Springs, with police saying several people were injured. Superintendent says none of the current students or graduates were involved in the shooting. So far, no arrests have been made. Police in Webb City arrest 2 burglary suspects after a standoff. Officers arrived Thursday morning to the 1600 block of South Oronogo, responding to a call about a burglary in progress. Officers say they found the suspects in a home on the 900 block of West 1st Street. When the suspects refused to come out of the home, the Jasper County Special Response Team was called in. Authorities used chemicals to force them out of the home and arrest them. Due to the close proximity to Webb City Junior High, the district set up an alternate pickup after classes. A happy ending in the search for a missing 12-year-old girl in Newton County, Missouri. On Wednesday night, officers and the community searched for 12-year-old Italy Savage, a suspected runaway. Family says the girl has health issues that could be aggravated by the heat. Numerous law enforcement agencies, search groups, and even a bloodhound participated in the search. A girl's mother found her walking along I-49 around 1 a.m. yesterday morning. Students at Joplin High School staged a walkout in support of abortion rights. Students who chose to participate walked out of class at noon yesterday and met at the campus flagpole. The walkout is in response to a leaked draft opinion from the U.S. Supreme Court suggesting the landmark abortion rights case Roe v. Wade might be overturned. Missouri is one of several states that are set to restrict or completely end access to abortion if Roe v. Wade is struck down. After about 45 minutes, the students returned to class. A Joplin apartment complex built about 100 years ago goes up in flames. We brought you this story first yesterday morning. The fire was reported at the historic Cleveland Apartments complex at First and Jackson. The fire spread among 3 vacant 2-story buildings that are partially connected. The apartments were being remodeled and did not have any tenants. More than 24 homes were damaged or destroyed from a coastal fire in California. Hotspots continue to burn from what started as a small brush fire and grew to about 200 acres. Some 550 firefighters responded. 2 were hospitalized with injuries. The exact cause of the fire remains under investigation. Utility Southern California Edison reported electrical activity close to the time it started. Call this a Mega $1 million mishap. It cost the Mega Millions lottery thousands in prize money paid to players with losing numbers. The payouts were made after host John Crow incorrectly read the Mega Ball number in Tuesday's drawing. First 5 numbers were called correctly: 15, 19, 20, 61, and 70, but the gold Mega Ball was a 9. Crow called it as a 6. There was no winning ticket for the annuitized $86 million jackpot, but there are 5 other prizes for having the correct Mega Ball number. The New York Lottery paid more than $5,500 to players with tickets bearing the incorrect Mega Ball number 6.
I don't know why it's on him. Tim does not want to talk about this story. Tim, I'm sorry, our incomparable director, Tim Aronson, obviously had a 9 and not the 6. I'm sorry, man. But I knew you had it because you showed back up at work today. I knew you didn't win $86 million.
If only you had the wrong number.
Now do the tease just to drive him crazy.
Up next.
Yes!
How a milk bank is coming to the aid of new mothers in the midst of a baby formula shortage. And later, a birthday wish come true for a true American hero. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. In Health Watch, breastfeeding moms are pitching in to help with the nation's baby formula shortage. Amber Sky Salon, which serves as a milk bank in Shrewsbury, Missouri, is getting so many donations, it has to put them on pause. Missouri is one of several states showing a 50% out-of-stock rate for baby formula. Human breast milk is being made available as needed on an emergency basis. Mothers with infants under 6 months of age are encouraged to talk to their pediatrician about alternatives. North Korea has announced what it's called an explosive outbreak of COVID-19 in the country. According to state media, it's likely killed at least 6 people so far and infected more than 350,000. That's after the country announced its first case on Thursday. Footage released by state media from the day show leader Kim Jong-un visiting the state emergency epidemic prevention headquarters. And there he criticized his country's epidemic prevention system. Kim, and along with other officials, were seen wearing masks during the inspection. U.S. reached a milestone that once seemed unthinkable: 1 million American deaths from COVID-19. Caitlin Collins with the latest on President Biden calling on Congress to pass more funding to fight the pandemic.
President Biden marking the staggering number of Americans lost to COVID-19.
1 million COVID deaths. 1 million empty chairs around the family dinner table, each irreplaceable.
The president lowering flags at federal buildings to half-staff to commemorate the somber milestone and highlighting the global toll as he virtually hosted world leaders for another pandemic summit.
Millions of children have been orphaned, and with thousands still dying every day, now is the time for us to act, all of us together.
On Thursday, databases used by the CDC and CNN were just shy of 1 million U.S. deaths, but expected to surpass that number soon. As other nations pledged billions to continue their fight against COVID-19, Biden called on Congress to authorize more funding so he could do the same.
We have to invest now. We have to secure political commitments now. We have to start working to prevent the next variant and the next pandemic now.
The White House has asked Congress for $22 billion for treatments and vaccines, but the proposal has languished on Capitol Hill amid disagreements over immigration.
I continue to call on Congress here at home to take the urgent action to provide emergency COVID-19 funding that is vital to protect Americans.
The president's top aides are warning there will be consequences if Congress fails to pass more funding soon, but they've baffled some experts by declining to say which models are behind their infection projections.
We're looking at a range of models, both internal and external models. And what they're predicting is that if we don't get ahead of this thing, we're going to have a lot of waning immunity. This virus continues to evolve, and we may see a pretty sizable wave of infections, hospitalizations, and deaths this fall and winter.
As far as warnings about a possible summer surge, numbers are nowhere near as dire as they were with the Delta or original Omicron surges. Thank goodness. High winds created huge dust storms like this one in Wayne, Nebraska Thursday night. More than 20 million people were under some kind of severe weather threat. More than 24 locations across Nebraska and South Dakota reported winds of at least 80 miles per hour. In southern South Dakota, a county reported at least 107 mile per hour winds. That's equal to the winds that hit during a Category 2 hurricane.
Certainly.
We're not in the Dust Bowl, are we?
You know, we were just talking about that earlier this week. That's that video. That's why I ran it, because it reminded me when we were talking about the Dust Bowl, and then earlier this week, perhaps last week, we were talking about John Steinbeck, Grapes of Wrath, and so when I saw this, I thought this is kind of the modern day video that just transpired yesterday. And like you said, Tanya, this is a number of states that found themselves in the middle of this mess. Makes our 40-mile-an-hour winds that we had on Monday look relatively mundane, doesn't it?
Right.
We set record highs in both Joplin and at Chanute yesterday. Now, we will not challenge those today. We'd have to get up to 90. We will not do that. We're going to concentrate on this stalled out front throughout southeast Kansas that refuses to budge. If we were to go back, say, let's put it on about a 30-minute time frame, our lightning greatly diminished from what we had earlier this morning, and especially what they're seeing up to the north right now. But it just really does not have any easterly push. You get over here in the eastern part of southwest Missouri and face off to the east, even at Television City. You know, you see blue sky out there. Temperatures are very delightful, even where we've seen a little drop to the north from the Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada line, where some of that was creeping a bit to the east. Still not too bad, mid-60s for middle of May. Can't complain about that. Weather trend for today, temperatures going to raise up into the mid-80s. To get there, number one, we've got to let this system dissipate. Number two, clear off our skies. And then number three, get ready for a little nighttime rain as well. As we push through Saturday, still going to make it up into the mid to high 80s. Saturday evening looking great as well. Sunday, here's where we get started again. Mainly for, say, late afternoon into the evening hours. That's where we see the thunderstorm activity really begin to pop right through the central portion and work its way down to the south. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Some students and parents upset after a homemade Ku Klux Klan hood was brought to a California school. It happened this week, part of a class project. Orko Manna explains how it all happened.
I just didn't want it to affect any of the other kids at our school.
A disturbing discovery inside a Placer County classroom. This 8th grader at Newcastle Elementary and Charter School taking these pictures of a homemade KKK hood she says was brought to campus by fellow classmates. The student, who wants to remain anonymous, says it was part of a class project highlighting U.S. history. The Newcastle Elementary School District telling KCRA3 the 3 students who brought the hood to school were assigned the Civil War and Reconstruction time period.
It just caught me by surprise, I guess. Because we are bringing in artifacts for it, and students are bringing in things. It just surprised me that it wasn't a picture.
The 8th grader says the hood sat on a desk inside her classroom since Wednesday, visible to the students and their teacher. This trigger warning also on display, noting the hood was offensive and clarifying that the students do not support the KKK or its activities. We're told the hood was removed Thursday, only after a small group of other students saw it during a presentation.
It was kind of unexpected that the teachers didn't really put it away as soon as they saw it. I feel like they could have handled the situation better.
The student's mother, who also did not want to be identified, agrees.
I think that they should have addressed it immediately.
She tells me this whole situation is unacceptable.
The one item that they brought in was an item that just represented terror and murder and just division.
Superintendent Denny Rush tells me what happened was inappropriate, but believes it's a learning lesson for the teacher and the students.
They had no bad intentions. They've been talked to, their parents have been talked to. They wanted something that would grab people's attention and call their attention to the fact there were bad things happening in our country.
But Rush admits an elementary school was not the right place.
We also need to be very careful about how we do that on sensitive subjects. And this is an area where for a few moments we missed that goal.
While this student agrees no harm was intended, she says everyone needs to be more thoughtful.
I feel like you should still put yourself in other people's shoes, because like someone may think that it's offensive.
Daily Almanac for our Friday the 13th. We are looking at 90 degrees being the record dates back to 1995. For those of you that want just a little break from our heat, seeing as how we came really close, within a degree. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we came within a degree of tying record highs, whether it be at Joplin Regional or Chanute. And then yesterday, we ended up breaking the records for May the 12th at both Joplin Regional and Chanute. So the new record holder for those 2 airports for May the 12th is now 2022. We will not get there today. We will not be able to make it up around 90 degrees. It's just a device. It's almost like Mother Nature is reading the county map right there. And she's saying that for all of you counties that are right by the state line, I'm going to leave you out of it, and then I'm going to just dominate the rest of southeastern Kansas. And that's exactly the way she's been all morning long. You push off into eastern southwest Missouri, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous start to the tune of clouds creeping over us. But out to the east right there, you still see blue sky. Our temperatures are very comfortable in between, say 64. Look at that rebound in Fort Scott and Nevada up at the very top. We had seen them fall as low as 63 and 64. And now right back into the 70s. It goes to show you how we're going to ebb and flow this morning. Mid-morning, we'll be done with the rain in southeast Kansas, set up for a nice, enjoyable afternoon, but then the emergence of additional rainfall this evening into Friday night, this time across the state lines. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's 4th-state hero, Lloyd Mcgonagall, in the U.S. Coast Guard. The Joplin-Carterville native joined the military in 1942 and served until 1962. Mcgonagall fought at the Battle of Saipan during World War II. He earned the American Theater Award and the World War II Victory Medal. To Lloyd Mcgonagall, we thank you, our 4th-state hero. A man believed to be Rhode Island's last surviving member of the Tuskegee Airmen turns 100 years old this month. All he asked for was birthday cards, and since then, thousands of cards have poured in to retired Sergeant Victor Butler's Cranston home. Timmy Topadeli has the story.
Thanks for doing a good job.
Card after card. The Butler family has gotten a head start counting the thousands of birthday cards and gifts sent in for retired Sergeant Victor Butler.
People are very, very nice. Counting the cards is amazing.
The World War II veteran turns 100 years old on May 21st. His family estimates about 12,000 cards have been mailed in so far. They've opened the 1,000th one Monday.
I don't think I'll ever get through reading cards.
We received cards from 41 states, and I want to get through all the states, and I think we'll hit that.
His daughter opens them, his wife counts them, and he reads them.
Thank you for your service in the Tuskegee Airmen, World War II.
Each card different than the last, some hand-drawn from children, some with pictures, and others wanting to see if he's taken.
Whoever was interested in him, well, I'm sorry. He's married, and we are happy.
But some of the most heartwarming apologies from the past.
They will explain that they realized what he went through, and they apologize for their ancestors, and that makes you feel good to know that Daddy actually made a change.
Butler was a mechanic with the Tuskegee Airmen. He couldn't fly overseas because he caught the flu. Instead, he stayed back to work on fighter planes.
I enjoyed helping the pilots get in the plane and watching them take off. I enjoyed testing the planes out myself. That was the best part of it.
This beautiful picture from an artist and this red, white, and blue blanket from a quilter are just a few of the many gifts that Mr. Butler has received so far, and he and his family are grateful.
It's been terrific.
We've still got time if you'd like to send Mr. Butler a birthday card, and later this morning we're going to post the article and his address to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, scientists explore the mysteries of space like never before, from a massive black hole right in your own backyard to food grown in lunar soil. And as drought continues to wreak havoc on rice crops in California, farmers and surrounding communities pay the price. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:31. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly signs legislation to legalize sports betting in Kansas. The new law will allow people in the state to use phone or computer apps to bet on sporting events and to place bets at state-owned casinos, though it's not clear yet how soon the wagering could begin. Most of the state's share of revenues from the new gambling will go to efforts to lure the Kansas City Chiefs from Missouri to Kansas. Webb City police arrest 2 burglary suspects after a standoff. Around 7:30 Thursday morning, officers were called to the 1600 block of South Oronogo in Webb City about a burglary in progress. While searching, they found the suspects in a home on the 900 block of West 1st Street and told them to come out. They did not. Jasper County Special Response Team was called in, and authorities used chemical munitions to force the suspects out of the home. Due to the close proximity to the junior high school, the staff set up an alternate pickup for dismissal. A Joplin apartment complex built about 100 years ago goes up in flames. We brought you this story first yesterday morning. The fire was reported shortly after 1 at Joplin's historic Cleveland Apartments complex at First and Jackson. Fire spread among 3 vacant 2-story buildings that are partially connected. Authorities say the apartments were being remodeled and did not have any tenants. Cleveland Apartments are part of the historic Murfreesburg neighborhood. A new trail tying the Allen County trail system together recently opened at Allen Community College, and now that system is over 60 miles long. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has how this trail will benefit Southeast Kansas residents and what's next for the system's expansion.
Good news for lovers of the outdoors. Biking and hiking trails in Southeast Kansas are expanding.
This wraps into more than 60 miles of trails and routes that we now have here in Allen County.
Last week, Thrive Allen County celebrated the newest trail at Allen Community College.
And to have the students here be able to be that better connected within our community, we're just really excited to be able to do that.
Now, the trail system in Allen County is connecting students and staff to over 60 miles of trails. In September, that will expand from Iola to Fort Scott to Pittsburgh.
We just put in a bike route
called the Prairie Pathways bike route that connects Iola to Fort Scott to Pittsburgh, and so that's going to be opening in September.
John Leahy, Bike and Trails Coordinator for Thrive, says the trails can help bridge gaps between Southeast Kansas communities, which are pretty spread out.
Our goal is to increase accessibility to anyone who wants access to recreation or for transportation. We find that specifically out here, there's a lot of recreational users, and on the Prairie Spirit and Southwind, we get a lot of transportation users getting to and from businesses.
People use these trails for a variety of reasons, but the biggest goal Thrive Allen County has for them is to improve the health of the community.
We've really seen a large variety of why people use the trails and how much healthier they have helped make our community.
Building on the idea of health, the next trail will be at the local hospital for patients and staff to use as desired. In Iola, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
All trails are free and open to the public. Well, the next time you're at Spiva Park in Joplin and you notice some sprucing up that's been done, think of some volunteers with Keller Williams Realty. They and the grandson of George Spiva did some landscaping at the park on Thursday.
I told them the situation here at the park. It's been kind of neglected over the years. New plantings have not replaced when things died, and it's just a lack of the labor force and income to do that for the city to put the money into this park.
Potting soil for the project was donated by Lowe's. American Legion Post 13 in Joplin handed out a few awards on Thursday. The awards were presented to Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Maury Buranek for the Scholastic Excellence Award and Cadet Major Deaton Watkins for the American Legion Military Excellence Award.
It makes me really proud, and it makes me know that my hard work has paid off, because have had to stay up till 2 a.m. doing homework a lot. So
the awards were handed out at the Joplin Regional Airport. Well, NASA could soon be sending pictures of naked earthly humans to aliens. Yeah, you heard that right. Researchers have put forward a proposal for a message to be transmitted from Earth out into the Milky Way in hopes that extraterrestrials will find it. The message plan includes representations of DNA, a map of the solar system, and illustrations of nude humans waving high. One male and one female. Why do they have to be nude? The message ends with an invitation for extraterrestrials to respond using their own telescopic technology. For more about the message proposal, check out the latest edition of archive.org, an open access repository of scientific papers. Why do they have to be nude humans waving?
We've already done this. Can you scroll down and tell me what's on that again? Ron, do you remember? Does it happen to be a nude man and a nude woman and one of them waving?
Yes.
And Voyager, no, Voyager had the records. Pioneer's got the plaque. And then the Arecibo message has the DNA helix on it. We've already done this.
Okay, so why are they doing it again?
Well, at first I thought...
Who did it the first time?
Honestly, I thought Pioneer would have been before Voyager. Yes, Pioneer was a plaque, Voyager was the golden records. Because when I first saw this story, I thought it was going to have something to do with technology and the fact that people like to send pictures of themselves and that maybe like that was going up into space. And then as you described it, I'm like, wait, this sounds all too familiar. We've done this. Also, too, you want to know a great story?
What?
This is where Hayslip treads lightly. Watch it, Michael.
I'll cut you off.
Don't fall through the cracks in the ice. So Carl Sagan's wife at the time, she did the plaque for Pioneer. Carl Sagan's future wife, while he was still married to his wife that did the plaque for the Pioneer, was the project for Voyager's golden records. Yeah. It's a little complicated.
So the first time they did it?
Astrophysicists, you know, it's cool, man.
Was it the first time they did it, were they drawings of humans nude or were they actual photos of human nude photo?
No, they were drawn. Carl Sagan's wife drew them. Linda.
Okay.
It's a plaque. It's on the satellites.
I still don't understand why they have to be nude. We don't run around naked. Well, most of us, but.
Clothing and modesty perhaps being a man-made construct of the human mind. We'll be back right after this. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, that young girl right there, all of 9 years old, she was one of 6 elementary school students in California that was hospitalized after eating marijuana-laced Cheetos. Now, the deputy quick to point out that this is nothing that Frito-Lay did. This obviously came from home. Another student who did not know they were laced brought them into the school. Our question for you this morning, should kids be allowed to bring home packed food to school or only prepackaged items, the ones that are, still sealed shut and whatnot. But right now, an overwhelming 81% of you say home packed food. You got to trust your neighbors every now and then when the kids are bringing in treats for parties and whatnot. From acquiring the first image of a black hole in the center of our galaxy to getting one step closer to growing crops on the moon. New scientific breakthroughs are helping us learn more about the final frontier and expanding space exploration. Perhaps apropos, coming off of us just talking about Pioneer and Voyager and the Arecibo message. Ted Linder with the story.
Scientists revealing the first image of the massive black hole in the center of our Milky Way galaxy on Thursday. The outer space giant, called Sagittarius A star, is the second black hole in history to be captured on camera, allowing researchers to better study gravity, quantum mechanics, and how galaxies may have formed.
It's provided excellent confirmation of Einstein's theory of general relativity and has confirmed the mass of the black hole at the center of our galaxy, which is about 4 million times that of our sun.
Deriving the image was an intensive international effort involving several global telescopes joining forces to observe the black hole.
We connect radio dishes around the globe and we synchronize them with atomic clocks. They all look at the same black hole at the same time, and that creates a virtual dish as large as the Earth itself.
But the space discoveries don't stop there.
Holy cow.
Researchers at the University of Florida are using lunar soil to grow plants. Scientists took moon soil collected by astronauts like Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and planted the seeds of a small flowering plant called the thale cress. And while all the seeds sprouted, the plant stopped growing shortly after. But still, like other scientific breakthroughs in history, officials say this shows what's possible for the future.
So it's easy to sort of look back at the Wright brothers now and say, hey, that was the first time, they're just trying it out, it worked, and look at where we are now.
The team is preparing to attempt the experiment again as NASA gears up to send astronauts back to the moon with its Artemis program within the next 3 to 4 years. Ted Linder, Fox News.
Be back with consumer news right after this.
Severe drought is taking a huge toll on California rice crops. This year, hundreds of thousands of acres will not be planted. Christy Melton has more on the impact on farmers and surrounding communities.
Should be seeded and flooded with water this time of year. Instead, they're empty. It's what farmers call fallow.
This is the first time in 4 generations that we are not farming rice.
And the Barretts aren't alone. Experts say 80% of rice acreage will not be planted this year. That's because the Bureau of Reclamation allocated 0 water from Lake Shasta to farmers south of the Delta. Today, Lake Shasta is below 50% capacity, a historical low.
They're not letting anybody use water for their farms.
Barrett is planting rice on leased land in Davis. Like most fields planted this season, he has access to groundwater and the infrastructure to pump it.
One way or another, I'm going to make this crop grow. If I have to use a garden hose, I'll figure it out.
But Barrett has some serious fears for future crops and the economic damage.
These small towns, they depend on the money that comes in off of agriculture, and without the water, these towns are drying up. I mean, it's a ghost town when you go to these small towns.
The Senate has confirmed Jerome Powell for a second term as chairman of the Federal Reserve. Powell says a recession may happen in the U.S. no matter what the Fed does. He told NPR that he had hoped higher interest rates would curb borrowing and ease inflation. However, Powell said that may not be enough to overcome the effects of the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. It's been a rough week for cryptocurrency investors. Yesterday, the price of Bitcoin dropped below $26,000, and that hadn't happened since December of 2020. A year ago, Bitcoin was trading for just under $50,000 a piece. Mercedes-Benz is recalling nearly 300,000 SUVs to fix a problem that could lead to a brake failure. The recall affects ML, GL, and R-Class vehicles from the 2006 through 2012 model years. Owners are urged to immediately stop driving those SUVs until their braking systems can be inspected. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Students at Pittsburgh State partnering with a four-state charity that gives kids with mobility struggles a chance to move around freely. The students are designing a special all-terrain wheelchair, and KOAM's Jalen Banks details the story.
Over the course of the past year, 5 students from Pittsburgh State University's Mechanical Engineering Technology program have been working on a project that aims to help improve the lives of children with movement challenges. They have created a motorized wheelchair that can go on multiple terrains, carry up to 50 pounds, and at full power can reach up to 20 miles per hour. Christian Schultz, a student on the design team for the chair, says that inspiration came from outside of our planet.
We were told that we needed something that had a good suspension and that could traverse hills and dales and, not jerk kid around. So we found a design online that was a Mars rover.
The students, along with the university, are partnering with Learn's Geeks for Kids, an organization with the same mission: help kids with mobility challenges so that they can better interact with their friends, family, and environment. Electric wheelchairs can cost on average about $17,000. Geeks for Kids will take the wheelchairs like the students at Pitt State Design, mass produce them, and donate them to kids in need. The president of the organization says that a task like this means more.
Sometimes in our real jobs, like in my real job, I run a software development company, and the things that we build, I hope, make businesses run better. But it's extra special to make somebody's life better, to change their lives.
It's easy to take for granted the little things such as walking, but Rebecca says delivery days are a reminder just how important they are.
Delivery day, when we give the cards to the children, is kind of like Christmas on steroids.
In Pittsburgh, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
Tremendous what those kids are doing, and then when that story started and I looked back and I saw the signage and I could identify what room they were in, it makes perfect sense. With the Baja team that PSU has put together, of course hosting the international competition pre-COVID, hopefully we can bring that back. Those kids have the utmost experience and that all-terrain kind of feel. And I think that's just such a wonderful gesture that they're helping out young kids that have those mobility issues. Here we are on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. We are beginning to break up, finally. Now, granted, that line still does extend north-south right through us, but we're seeing the heavier rain begin to kind of shrink in on us, if you will. I know for those of you in the Iola-Chanute line on 169, that's probably of little solace as we're already above 1.5 inches of accumulation since this morning. But slowly but surely, we're working our way there. It'll dissipate over southeast Kansas, won't move into southwest Missouri. Down here to the south, if you have to go south of Tulsa for any reason, they got a little mess on their hands. They have spawned a severe thunderstorm warning. Our temperatures today, mid-80s, so we avoid breaking any records. We'll clear off for the afternoon, get some sunshine before we have the reemergence of some thunderstorms late tonight into Saturday morning. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The Congressional Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol riot issues subpoenas to 5 House Republicans, including Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Lawmakers all rejected the panel's request for voluntary testimony several months ago. The committee says it believes they have relevant knowledge about the events leading up to January 6th. White House flag flew at half-staff to mark the death of 1 million Americans from COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic more than 2 years ago. As the nation reaches the tragic milestone, the country is averaging more than 80,000 infections and hundreds of deaths each day. Finland says it's applying to join NATO, and Sweden is expected to quickly follow. If they both join, the Western military alliance would expand to 32 nations. One of the reasons Russian President Vladimir Putin attacked Ukraine was to block it from joining NATO.
Roll through Future Track one more time. That rain is beginning to break, but we've got about an hour left of it before it's all said and done. As we work into the afternoon, sunny skies, highs up into the mid-80s. Now remember, tonight we'll pick up additional scattered showers to begin with, and then a little overnight thunderstorm activity into early Saturday morning.
Actor James Hong has become the oldest celeb to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. At the age of 93, the Asian acting legend is 31 years older than the historic landmark. He was nominated by actor-producer Daniel Day Kim, who raised money to make it happen. Jamie Lee Curtis, who co-stars in his latest film Everything Everywhere All at Once, spoke on his behalf. Hong then celebrated with a little song and a dragon dance. His hundreds of TV appearances include Kung Fu in the 70s, Dynasty in the 80s, and Seinfeld in the 90s. On the big screen, he was in Blade Runner, Big Trouble in Little China, was a voice in the original Mulan. He also starred in all of the Kung Fu Panda movies.
I'm jealous of him. He got to dance with Jamie Lee. We decided Big Trouble in Little China. That's our pick to click at KOAM and FOX14. Thanks for letting us put the good in your morning. Back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.